what an absolutely brilliant fight. I went with Agony and I lost, but I'm not ashamed of that. That was wonderful.
That setup from Agony is one of the places where I would consider it to be valid to bring 7 ships. If you have a real gimmick going that requires a certain set of ships that you can't fit 12 in. I will just smug a little bit though here and say that, and you guys can back me up on this, I called that the Tengu was the Repper as soon as we saw the matchup, as soon as we saw the lineup before they zoomed in on the Tengu.
Yes, that is true. Was the weakness that you basically had a bait ship, or like would you do it with a bait ship if you're making a setup like that, or would you just say this is the?
To a certain extent, everything else is a bait ship because the weakest tank would be on the Tengu or the Ferox if the Tengu doesn't get reps on them fast enough. That was something they just switched their damage around and got that Ferox down as well, won it. But assuming that everyone's getting repped quickly, the weakest tank would be the Tengu over time. And so the counter to it is something that doesn't do thermal and kinetic damage, blasting the Tengu. They came up against a good team to come up against with all blaster damage.
Am I crazy, or would an ECM setup be really good against that?
An ECM setup would eventually do well. You'd have to keep your ships alive for a while, though, which would be tricky.
You would have a little bit of time.
Because you'd have very strong sensor strength on those ships. Although, actually, there wasn't a disillusion, I don't think, on the front of the Tengu. So it actually, ECM setup could have done decently.
I mean, I think Agony deserves a lot of credit for creativity. That was definitely an awesome match.
And it was a 7-ship setup that wasn't absolutely horrible. Because most of them you'd expect be terrible.
Agony's done this before. I think we saw them do like a 4-ship setup once in the tournament.
That sounds familiar.
It was something similar. They really like those real turtle tank gimmick setups, which can do well if you don't see them coming.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cool adjustment in this tournament because up to this point, everything, like, points have been so important up to this point. It's not good enough ever to win. We saw like RVB go out even though they got 2 wins. You really have to score a lot of points. And so everyone's in that mode, and then this setup really capitalizes on the idea that you only really need to kill 1 ship. I mean, when they killed the Incursus, we thought they won the match.
I mean, they had won the match for 9 minutes. And then, like, towards the end, they lost the 2 ships. All right, that was a fantastic match.
That was fun.
Shadow Cartel and Noli Secunda will close off this section of the Alliance tournament, and then we move into the quarterfinals, which I'm super excited about. I quickly want to go back to the overview.
Yeah, please do.
Before the angry threads come. So there's a lot of really bad stuff about the overview. I mean, the good one, of course, is that it's like one place where you have all the information compiled, but it's just presented in a really bad way. One of the things that I really wanted to do when we're talking about the buff bar or the effect bar or what have you, is that whenever you had someone in fleet fights doing stuff to you, you'd have to kind of scroll through the list and you'd find the bracket, and like the UI, like the icons were so small, and taking it out of there and putting it kind of into where you can't miss it and you can react from there. I thought was really good, and I would actually like to take them out of the overview and just have them there because it's better. But I'm fairly certain that even though it's functionally better, I still get lynched.
You're talking about, like, if you have a web effect on your little buff bar, not showing who's webbing you in your overview?
Yes.
I think you're absolutely right that the buff bar or the overview E-War icons are useless in really big fleets. But in small gang, it's where you can see instantly rather than having to right-click on it or hover over it. There's still some value in that.
If there was some kind of feedback from the buff bar that allowed you to, like, and maybe this is true right now, but like if someone had a point on you,
you can target them
and you can target them from the buff bar, or at least have it display who it is that's doing it from the buff bar. That
right now, you hover over it, it'll show you.
What does it?
Yeah, I think so. Right?
I think like people are mostly worried that we're gonna dump down Eve and get a lot of dumb people playing Eve, which I don't think will happen because it's just so cool.
I think anytime.
And I think that, like, I guess there are like 2 opinions on it. Some people say that you should just know your stuff and know your ammo and know your guns. And then there are other people that realize that you're flying a spaceship. And it should pretty much be able to tell you, like, if a target is in the range or like.
We're in the future.
Yeah, it's like you've got this automatic voice on your ship. Aura's telling you all these things right at the beginning, but then like once you're a week into the game, you ask Aura a question, Aura's like, screw you.
Actually, that's
I'm not going to help.
Interesting, like, dichotomy. I don't know if I know what that word means, but the, like, when you talk about taking things off the overview, my reaction is like, you can't take information away from me. That's like totally unacceptable. But at the same time, when you give the new information, when you highlight over modules in the tooltip, I'm like, don't give me extra information. That'll make it easy for the noobs.
Yeah, exactly.
So apparently we're at the exact right amount of information right now for me. And I can see that's a little flawed.
We have to find between like removing things and making things easy and still make you like think about stuff.
For those of us that basically play using the overview and the watch list only, you can just delete the rest of the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could just output the overview and the watch list to Excel through the API, I would play in that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, obscuring information, I think, is also good gameplay. Like, I mean, it's kind of a pillar in RTS, Fog of War, for example.
Yeah.
Like, the decisions you have to make when you don't know what's going on is basically being able to kind of pull that out of different things. I think
that's really
important.
Like, if buff bar didn't, like, if you had 3 people webbing you and the buff bar didn't show you and you just had a little web effect, it would add skill to the game to be good at understanding who it is that's webbing you rather than having the interface tell you. So that adds like Fog of War to the game, which could be interesting. So maybe I shouldn't be so defensive.
And the other thing is, so there's a game called, I think it's called Artemis, which is basically like, it's a really cool game, but it's like so shameful that people who play it probably don't really talk about it for good reason. It's like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. Like, everyone has a role on the bridge, and I'm going to tell you more about that in a second. All right.
I like these cliffhangers.
Let's leave this one with another cliffhanger and go to Shadow Cartel versus Noli Secunda and get the predictions on that.
My vote is with the epic heroes of legend, Shadow Cartel.
I'm going to go with Broadsword Secunda for this one.
I'm going to go with Shadow Cartel.
I'm going to go with the naked chainsword or chainsaw wielding Shadow Cartel.
I like that.